Playing. I wasn't sure if you wanted to play the whole quartet, so if you wanted to play, how much you wanted to play, but we can start. If you, right, yeah, focus on the first movement. Is that what you'd like to do? Very, very, well prepared and thought out, and lots of really beautiful, expressive things happening, which is really wonderful to hear. Sort of sounding like a real quartet, which is very exciting. How long have you guys been playing together?
So we've been playing together since our first year at the Royal Norman, so it's 4 years now. Yeah.
Okay, so all fourth year. Yeah. Okay, brilliant. And is this a piece that you've worked on for a while?
Yeah.
That's great.
We started before the first lockdown. So it was a piece we sort of thought about for a long time while we couldn't rehearse. So we've been sort of playing it for a long time, but didn't really play it for a period of
like
time only.
Big breaks.
Yeah,
Everyone's had big breaks in the last 18 months. But then you want it even more when you... The joy of being back together is great. I mean, for us, we were just so excited to be able to play together after those breaks. I'm sure it's been the same for you guys. Really, I would say, sort of two main things I really would love you to think about more in this piece, but probably they can be applied to anything that you're playing. And the first one is the way you share the music within the group. So I can see that you're all listening and you're all aware of what's going on with everyone else, but sometimes I feel that you're a bit static and not really sharing with each other as much as you're nodding like you might have heard this before. Yes? I know it can be really hard to do, and we all want to play our best and maybe do things that we've discussed in rehearsal and things that we've thought about, but actually the most important thing is to communicate, even if that means that you might risk too much and something might go wrong. But I would always prefer it that way. I think if you can all try to give, it's not about in a way actually giving to the audience, it's about giving to each other, like real musical generosity to each other. And that feeling of, maybe if someone is feeling a little bit nervous or a little bit on edge, someone's had a bad day, or, a million things can happen, that you just all really hold each other's hands. And you're there to support each other sort of musically on stage, as well as, backstage and hopefully being friends in life as well. The other thing I want to talk about is cultivating more different colours within the group, because I can see that this is starting to happen, but in a piece like this, it's very complicated texture. Everyone has a lot to do most of the time, but I think can really go further with looking for extremes of colour and dynamic. But should we just start from the beginning? I'll get my score back to the... Is that okay? It hasn't actually. So at this very beginning, it looked like you have made a decision, for example, to all take responsibility to lead. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. I think you can go a lot further with that. Sort of, I think coming from the middle is a great idea in this kind of a situation. And I think you guys can take a lot more physical sort of impetus and really command the space a lot more around you. So it's about sort of giving that energy out. So these guys are just compelled to play with you. Let's give that a go. What happened?
Felt like we weren't all leading.
Yeah. I feel like they were looking at me.
Yeah.
Pressure on the second violin. It felt like you were sort of, oh God, I have to take responsibility, and then everyone suddenly looked at you and there was a moment of hesitation. In a way, you have to sort of trust that it's just going to happen together. And it takes time building that trust, and it also is just a mental leap that you are just going to breathe and feel it and do it together. And do you want to sort of just shake that off and try something else? Okay. I thought that was more successful. Yeah? It's Emily, right? I think you can take more initiative, because I see that your breath comes after everyone else has breathed. So you're sort of jumping on the train that's already going, but this is the heart of the quartet in so many ways, the middle parts. And I think particularly for this kind of more unison-y, not in unison, but that type of writing, try to really turbocharge from the middle. Okay. What did you think?
Still doubting each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it felt better than.
Yeah,
it's good.
it wasn't perfect, but it was better.
So there's the same thing that happens every time with the first note. What is it?
I guess it's not together, but.
In what way not together though?
Maybe we're not breathing together.
It's just the way you approach the string is slightly different. And then the way you come out of the string is slightly different. And then it's much more unified from the second beat. But in a way that's to do with character, because I see some different characters happening. And I wonder if to get this real sense of unity, you need to just have a discussion about what you really want to convey in this opening theme. What have your thoughts and discussions been about this thus far?
I think a lot of how we've discussed the opening, rather than character-wise, more just thought musically, oh, we're taking time, or how. So not really kind of put a label on it.
Okay. I think all of those kind of musical decisions for me come from character or emotion. So personally, I relate to music in a very sort of like physically emotional way, so it will be always to do with like how it makes me feel. And maybe that's a good place to start. And then any kind of timing or bow decisions or things like how you approach the string can come from that. So what do you feel like? How does the opening make you feel? Yeah? Wait, sorry?
I was probably gonna say, like, I know it says this he did, but I was gonna say quite decisive, like this is
Yeah?
confident statement. But yeah, I'm not sure. Adjective.
It's hard sometimes to find words, isn't it? I feel it's quite turbulent and quite earthy. I definitely agree it has strength to it. It's not static, is it? Is it something that you think, is it a story or something that's happening to you in the moment, or is it something that's happened in the past? You're reliving, what do you think? Think of different ways to kind of get inside.
Yeah. Maybe on the moment.
Yeah, the moment.
Expressive.
Okay. Anyone? Emily, you want to
Personally, I think it's passionate.
Yes.
I see it as quite passionate. Yeah, but then what follows is quite mystical and floaty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, afterwards, yeah.
When you play the first sort of like 10 or 12 bars and just see how, don't worry about the notes being put together, see how you feel, and then we can talk again. Okay.
I guess to me, it definitely does feel turbulent, and like there are all these like small things that happen, and it comes out of it, falls out of it.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah? Any other?
Feels very free, so that anything can happen really. That there's not a set melody or theme. It's kind of exploratory.
Yeah, sort of swirling.
Yeah.
Could go a little bit wild.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I think it also has a sort of very earthy, almost sort of like a Rousseau painting, something quite sensual about it, but in a way with a lot of strength. And as you said, it's always shifting, going somewhere else. I sometimes question, sometimes you're doing things in the same way. So, for example, the statement, the accent, for example, in the third and fourth bar, is with the same impact and the same decay each time. Things like that, which don't play into what you just said, or this idea of turbulence, or maybe you're still feeling that it's more decisive.
I think we're supposed to, we agreed we'd do the second time a bit more, with more impact. I think we discussed, but
yeah. And it's also what type of accent, because at the moment it's quite direct, with a bite at the beginning. Is that really the sound world that... I was giving you a lot of things to think about. I know, but I think that all of these things will become quite simple if you have a united musical view. Because in essence, it's like, you know, the scores for us are like reading a book. There's a million different ways of interpreting all the words, all the notes. But to kind of be in a group together, you need to find your own interpretation in your way through that you can share, so that you have a completely shared sort of emotional framework. You know what you're trying to convey through the instrument. And within that you can find the freedom, I think. But it's very hard to do that until you have that united kind of view. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So just can you try it for me with more of the swirling turbulence, and with the accents being something that propel you forward, rather than something that is a definite statement. I think the harmony is very unsettled. I think there's, as you say, a lot of searching, and where you just finish, there's a lot of doubt that's pleading. We don't know where we're going to go next, and there's this mystery, there's this incredible sort of different tactile textures that are coming into play. So in a way, if you free yourself from thinking things like, oh, we're going to do more, second time we'll give it more impotence, and think, it's going to get hotter, and we're going to go further, and then what are we going to find in the next bar? That was so different and really, really beautiful. I don't know if anyone felt the difference. Yeah, there you go. And that took 5 minutes. You could have spent hours discussing how you're going to play every note, and you might not feel like that in the moment. You need to have that trust and to have the shared sort of heartbeat. Oh, that's my microphone. Sorry. Shared heartbeat feeling. It's really exciting to see that. Also, I saw everyone looking up more from the music and physically getting more involved in the music, and I think you can go a lot further with that. I mean, I'm sure you all know this from memory, so really the music's sort of just there as like a tradition, isn't it? Or in case someone has a sort of brain glitch, but just I would really try to get out of it more. Now, this second sort of main colour that arrives, again, what do you want to achieve?
Picture it as waves.
Okay.
Yeah. And then something soaring above the waves.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I think in that case, for me, the pianissimo isn't a massive different colour from the forte at the beginning of the piece. It's still quite real. I can still hear every note. I'm not really interested in notes. I'm interested in shapes, because like you say, it's the waves. And then, again, the soaring, you have a really beautiful sound, a lot of facility, but it's quite a similar type of sound that you're using. How could you change that up more? We're thinking of this soaring idea, like what are the things that you guys might do to change the sound more?
Less air, maybe.
Less bow.
Yeah.
Lots of air.
Sort of air, yeah, like the speed of sound, I think, is something that's here it needs to be very, very fast kind of speed of the sound, so like a lot of changes in bow speed all the time, and constantly responding with the left hand to what's happening in the bow, rather than that being sometimes a little bit default. Do you want to just try something much more extreme? I also wonder if your figure that you take over from the first violin.
Oh yeah.
I know it's marked the same every time, but so composers are so limited in what they can write. Also, piano and like they don't mean the same thing every time they write that, obviously. And I think you have such an important role in this transition, and I feel that you're not bringing us into the new world. For me, these waves still have a very unsettled feeling. We're not calm, we're not sort of in our place, we don't know where we are really yet. We haven't reached any point of stability in the piece at all. And so I wonder if you can be perhaps more searching, more pleading, take more risks. It doesn't matter if something goes wrong.
Sure.
Where's a good place to go from? Wherever you guys like. I really liked how you're all really trying different things. Why do you think it is that it's not somehow quite having lift off?
Maybe because we're all trying different things. So we're not kind of trying the same.
Yeah. Do you want to just have another? I think for me there's something else quite fundamental which you don't need to discuss but can do in the moment, to do with the bows.
Just be in the same place.
Match bow speed. You need to match bow speed. So the other thing about bow speed is that it shouldn't be the same because it's down bow and up bow. And I see within the group some habits about that. And I think if you're all really, really vigilant about doing what you really mean to be doing with the bow, but also in places where you're united, just being, at least for an exercise in the beginning, on one of the lower parts bow speeds, just be on it and do it in the moment. And you can practice doing that in like various exercises and scales and whatever, but then you can say afterwards like, I didn't like it, but it will mean that you're united in that moment. For example, when with the outer parts, I see with the bow speed, I'm not getting the real shape because there's a habit of decaying the bow in a certain way, in the same way on every down bow. So even though I can see what you're wanting to do, it's not quite coming out. Do you want to just try from the same place and really as many eyes up and out of the music as you can? I still see a bit of the focus on your own parts, and in a way I think when we play in my quartet, when we play the best concerts that we do, we're all not even listening to ourselves, we're only listening to the others. And if everyone does that, I think that's when the magic happens. Well done, guys. I can see you're really trying. Probably felt a bit uncomfortable. Yeah, I mean, it just takes doing it more to...
Yeah, it's a different kind of approach to what we do most of the time.
Yeah, what do you do most of the time?
Just argue about bowing.
Yeah, I mean, we also discuss bowing. I'm normally like, I'm just like, just tell me what you decide.
Yeah.
Just tell me what you decide. But yeah. Do you want to try it again? I stopped you because I think this is the first point in this movement where the harmony is really different. Just where I stopped you, what's your feeling? Does it make you feel?
I feel it's like coming home to where you know everything and you feel comfortable and it's just safe and nice.
For the first 2 bars, For the first two bars of one?
No, for there when we got to. Where we stopped.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, just at 1 and a few bars after 1.
It's at the pianissimo 2 out, 3 out after 1, right? I really agree. It's incredibly comforting and very reassuring somehow, which hasn't been an element in the music before. And I really want you to search for a very different kind of sound here, because it was very similar to the kind of sound that you used at 1. So for me, at 1, the sound would need to have more tension in it still, and there isn't any real wit into 1. I felt a bit of the bar line, which was perhaps unnecessary structurally, because the real point is happening 2 after 1, which that's the moment that we need to take our breath away.
True, yeah.
I'm sure you've discussed all of these things and made the decision to do that. But but it's just a different perspective. I really want to hear that difference 3 after 1. I want to feel that sort of warm hug of home that you were saying about. Do you want to do the same place again? And again, try this uncomfortable, slightly new idea, but it will become very comfortable.
Yeah.
Because to become comfortable with all the risks, life is very risky. Well done, guys. For me, it's definitely going in the right direction. I just, I think we need more of. Sorry, tell me your name again.
Matthias.
You're Matthias. Okay, great, Matthias. More of you in the semiquaver passages, and maybe a bit less. First, Didier, right? Didier, Matthias, Emily, Julius. Great. I can just talk about the different sounds, because it's also, it's got to come from the bow as much as the left hand. Obviously, I'm sure you all know that, but the articulation therefore also needs to change. So, sorry, it's ages since I played this, but. You do quite deliberate lift there. And then a child, or I don't. It's so tender, isn't it? And I think you're still doing the. However hard you try with your left hand, it's never going to have that tactile quality, and just really you'll never waste time experimenting with different colours as a group. And I think it's much more challenging doing different colours in a unified way than it is someone doing it on their own. Which is why it's good to practice that kind of sculpting them together, in scaled exercises, or lots of slow work, but with full intention in terms of colour and shape and dynamics. But yeah. Anyway, do you want to try that same thing again, and just really in a sort of second subject-y bit? Really pay attention to the balance, because I think the second violin is so important in this whole quartet, and it's such a hard second violin part. But I love your approach to it and all the freedom, and I think you can perhaps be more the centre of those kind of triads that are happening.
Do you mean from the very same place?
If you don't mind, that would be great. Thank you. Fly. to taking more initiative, you all need to jump with him. Yeah, because that's great, but just go with it and try it. So it's in a way much more like improvisational approach to have in the group. Like you've done all your groundwork, you know how to play it, and now it's how to take it to the next level, that you're creating it afresh every time and like really living it. 'Cause in a way, that's all I'm really trying to get you to do. Sorry, what's your password? 'Cause can you put it in?
Put my finger
Thank you.
on it. That's all right.
Great. On the other hand, I think sometimes you inject energy too quickly for what the music's demanding. Because I do think it still has this sensuous element, so that changes are never sudden. I wouldn't say there are any hard edges. There's always these kind of soft corners. So, yeah, I don't think things should sort of be a shock or should be sort of gear changes. I'm thinking of places like, where was it you just really like injected energy massively?
A few of the one.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, into the, right, so at the beginning of the crescendo, more of something beginning to sort of bubble. Do you want to do it one more time from figure 1?
Yeah.
And again, just like embrace even further this, like not controlling the music, but letting it kind of just come through you and you're reacting to it. Tempo here?
Yeah,
Is it, where is this?
There.
Why do you want to have a slow tempo?
Accident.
Because why?
Just accident.
Yeah, we didn't mean to, I think.
Because why?
We didn't mean to. We just slow down.
Oh, it just happens.
Yeah.
It's not a decision.
No.
But you know it happens.
Yeah. Sometimes it's better. Sometimes it's worse.
Well, right, that it's a different feeling here, but I think Debussy is one of those composers that is so precise in what he wants, even in a sort of relatively like earlier kind of work. I mean, it's not that early, but yeah, relatively compared to the violin sonata or something. But he is very precise in what he wants. You know, there's lots of tempo rubato and, you know, slower. But he writes what he wants, basically. I think we still, particularly because the semiquavers come back and they're again these kind of waves, it doesn't make sense to me to go, so it's not lugubrious, it's not sort of settled or calm, and to me it makes it a bit notey. And it also interrupts the bigger structure of the movement, because there are a lot of tempo changes later, and they all need to make sense within the sort of big structural thing. You look like you might have heard this before.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you still decided to keep doing it slower.
I think maybe it was more something that we've kind of practiced in and we haven't practiced out of it. Basically.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, who's going to take the initiative to not allow it to go slower there?
Maybe us too.
Yeah. Let's do it. why it's also sagging is because the sound is stopping all the time. So you can probably tell, I think, a lot in terms of sound as well. But that's our medium after all. So in the end, sound is the only thing that actually matters, and that's the way we have to convey everything in the world. So, Matthias, you know your thing just before that? I think if you felt a little bit more support from the other three, it might help you to feel freer on it. And in a way, that's the place where I would maybe give it a little bit of time. That's the bar where the corner's turning, but then we're off again. Yeah? Can I just look in your parting? Because I can't sort of read it. It's too small. Yeah. The time, in a way, can be during that bar, but by the end of the bar, we should be giving it back and. I see that the bow is doing. Stop. Just playing your part because that's not I know, but I see everyone's doing that. So it's always moving. It's almost like always just a moment out of your reach, and you need to sort of chase after it with the sound. Do you want to just try that? I think so much that we're taught, it's about preparing well and knowing what we're doing, and once you've done all of that work, then the work becomes to free yourself of all of that, paradoxically. Yeah, maybe from the forte, that's a good spot. Just, I would say around here, just be wary that there are not accents, they're dots and lines, and I hear quite sharp articulations, whereas I feel you could get under the string, could again be this kind of earthier quality that's propelling you forward, rather than any kind of aggression. For me, it's not. There are places where there is aggression in this quartet, but it's not here. Provoke each other. Here, more attention, and here, yeah. More difference. Those harmonies are so different from each other, aren't they? There's that moment of kind of warmth and calm, and then the tension in the harmony again. It's like so many composers, it's the kind of the light and the shadows all the time. Schubert's probably the sort of most obvious master of that, the dark and the light, but that's what Debussy's doing as well. And you can go much further with that. You guys are not really connecting on the triplets, and you're doing quite different things. I mean, it's not about trying to play every note together. That will come if you. You'll play much more together if you don't try and play every note together, but if you try and have the same kind of sweep and the same intention. I really want you to provoke each other more, to go further musically. Can you do the same one more time? imagining, it's really sorry, there's flies attacking you. That's terrible. It's one of the worst things that happens while you're playing. You get attacked by insects. But guys, I think that's for me is really going in the right direction. And I can feel it immediately when you come out of what you are doing as individuals and into what everyone else is doing and the kind of group experience. It's so hard to do, and it means that you need to really have internalized the work and your part. But when you can get out of worrying about your notes and what you're doing and just be responding and listening to everyone else, that is really when the magic happens. Did you feel those moments?
Yeah.
Can you feel the difference? Yeah. I think once you get it, it's like a drug and you never want to not have it. Because it means that you're out of your thinking mind and you are kind of like a vessel for the music to come through, and you're creating something in the moment together, which is so special. I mean, that's why we play quartets, really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just in terms of time, do you want to look at other movements, or do you want to stay on this movement?
I think it would be good to stay on this.
Yeah, great. That's great. Can you do your touch ID thing again?
Oh, yeah, of course. Sorry about that.
That's great. Where are we? Should we go on a little bit? Where have we gotten to? Perhaps just from somewhere before 2, 8 or 10 bars before 2. Just physically, the more you can share with each other, I think sometimes I see a bit of physical sort of stiffness, and if you can try to sort of really have the sense of giving, so real like generosity to each other. So that's the first moment of real crisis, isn't it? Before 2. And what does that precipitate? So this is the first like structural crisis. This is the first sort of really big climax of the movement. And what happens afterwards?
Development?
Yeah.
It's a bit weird because it starts off with this unsure, kind of uncertain cello bit, but then warms up into the underwritten bit.
Yeah. And then what happens?
That's magical.
Yeah. But then that comes back to I think it's quite scary.
Even more, yeah.
I mean, I definitely think it's very, sorry. I think it's quite frightening. It's threatening to me. And it's definitely you don't know where you're going. You're what the hell is going on? And it is the fragmentation of all of these things. So you're not united for the first time. There's tension between the different elements of the group. So I think that's very important to really feel that you're threatening, and then this kind of, he writes sweet and expressive, but it's almost, to me, like it's almost overly sweet and expressive because you're trying to almost ignore or repress the frightening thing which you know is coming. You've just had this crisis. So if you can imagine if it's inside someone's head, you can imagine it in a more like psychological way. Like, we all know how those things feel. And now we're going to go through this sort of working out process of these different tensions that are opposing each other. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Do you want to give that a go?
Yeah, let's give it a sing, please.
Don't be afraid of a real crisis before too as well. It's well in tune and everything, but I feel like especially when the bass drops out and it's just the three of you on that A, it's like you really need to be so, because it's now fortissimo sforzando with a hat on it, like you just need to give it everything. It needs to be, that you're, real crisis feeling. Too normal, and make them wait on that pause. Be like, what the hell is happening? And then you really need to be threatening. But you don't know. You're not sure what the threat is. They shouldn't be sure. It's like something sort of rumbling. Like you feel something is wrong, but you don't know what it is. Okay. That was great. Do you want to just? Because it's a pause, and then it's a double bar as well.
Yeah, I know, just the random pause.
No, that's their problem.
Yeah.
They can take another bar if they need to. Yeah.
Maybe just like 57?
Yeah, good job.
Great. I thought that was so effective and really got into the characters for me, and I thought you played a fantastic role kind of bridging between the two elements. It was beautiful how you did that. Here again the quartet's united and it's, I think, quite ecstatic. For me, it's too literal how you get it. You're like, how you're going to get into it.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel immediately da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba. All right, we're here, okay. Like automatic. You never want to hear automatic playing, however brilliant it is, because it's not live. It's a replica of something. It's like a sort of Xerox. It's not the real thing. And here the ensemble kind of thing, I think, for me, when Debussy writes ensemble, it's almost a fear of like getting out of control. It's not the same, but it's like that kind of incalzando feeling, like getting on fire, running, going somewhere, going. Where are we going? And so I think it can't be too controlled. You need to have this feeling of gathering momentum and sort of jumping on the train. And then just the balance at the premier movement, like I want a lot more from the middle parts, really, if that's possible, because the first violin and cello are both quite resonant kind of registers. I know you've both in really difficult registers here. Everyone's playing loads of double stops, but I just feel like it needs that for that sort of real power and richness in the resonance. And perhaps if you guys can also really, with the bows, kind of, instead of, I feel that you're being secondary to the outer parts here, and it should switch and flip on its head and be the other way around. And it should actually give you guys also a lot more freedom then to just let the sound fly, rather than feeling like you have to lead or show or control. It allows for a different kind of, like the quartet instrument itself to have more resonant rather than the individual instruments. If that makes sense. Do you want to just try from the second premier movement? Oh. Guys, it's so good, but for me there's many things that are happening that aren't quite coming across. Because there's so many very, very quick changes through this. Yeah? Do you want to just have another go? I'm not going to talk you through what I think they all are, because it sounds like you know what they are. So just dare much more, like go for those extremes of emotion. What's the worst that's going to happen? You'll fall off your instrument. Who cares? Open, fly. Call to each other. More of this, more of this. It's really going in the right direction. But how does it feel?
It feels more musical, definitely.
Yeah, more musical.
More musical.
More emotional.
More emotional, yeah.
But also more unsafe in a bit, like unsure what's going to happen, which is good probably.
I mean, I think if you practice playing more in this direction, it will start to feel less unsafe.
Yeah,
And actually, paradoxically, it will be much safer than things which you've maybe planned, because there are so many different ways of kind of expressing all of these different things which happen. And it is super complex, this quartet, emotionally. I think it's really hard, and you guys have done a fantastic job in your preparation of it and really understanding the score and the textures, and I can see like a lot of really excellent work has gone into it. But in a way, it's like when you embrace the unsafeness of it, is when you can let the music sort of fly, and it's almost like you're sort of surfing. And it does come from a sort of a trust, but also thought about letting go of sort of our egos, or what we think we should be doing, or what we think is good or correct, which is, it's hard, and I think all of us have to work on that kind of stuff all of the time, the kind of stage psychology, and why we're really playing the music, and what our top priorities are when we are playing it. And that's not, there's no quick and easy answer and solution to that, but I think it is a kind of constant process of really examining those issues, and of course we all want to be really good and the best that we can be, and for people to like what we're doing. That's human nature as well. We want people to like us, basically. But it's important to be able to also leave a lot of that sort of at the door as you walk on stage. Yeah. Does that make sense? I'm going to have to wrap up in about 15 minutes, so are there any particular spots that you'd like to look at, work on, any special questions, or?
Should we do some of the end maybe?
Yes, definitely.
Like we could do maybe from 5?
5, yeah.
Where are you playing from 5?
Yeah, I think 5.
Just the last theme return.
Great. Well then, don't worry about it. It's mostly, I think, really excellent what you're doing. Just at the very end, so I know there's a double bar line before the 6/4, tres animé, but I think it's weird to do a break because it's gathering momentum, toujours plus animé, peu animé, you know, it's like getting more and more and more, and then to suddenly, you know, it's like the gates have opened, like the water is crashing through. I think it's got to be like an unstoppable force, yeah? And then the subito pianissimo is always extremely challenging because apart from the fact that you're sort of on this ride to the end of the movement, you've already come down from piano, but I think it is the fact that he writes subito is, I know, do you all have it in your parts?
Yeah.
You do, yeah. Means that he does want a real drop there, but you mustn't take time for me. I mean, unless you're in a massive acoustic, but I think it's got to be something that injects so much more excitement into what's happening, because it is that feeling of just the ground has just come out from underneath you, and you've got to sort of run to the end. So I would just not get too little before that. I do think you can sometimes experiment with the quieter dynamics though. You don't need to each be able to hear yourself. You can just create more of a group sound. Yeah, you have a question.
So actually, yeah, the bar before the subito, we have a piano and then diminuendo.
I know.
And I guess that was something we discussed like before. How much do we actually do that piano if we're still going down to the subito?
I would do a sort of quite like a piano, but not a very quiet one. So yeah, I would just like let the energy drop down a bit, and then the pianissimo subito should be a massive injection of energy, but a huge drop in dynamics.
So that's the real bit.
Yeah. I think sometimes dynamics are really misleading because they're not just about volume. A lot of the time they're about intention or energy, and the composer doesn't have really a way of conveying. It's very imprecise, basically, and I think, you know, that's our job to try and interpret it. You know, what is behind that? What they're really getting at. That would be my advice. If you want to give it a go.
Yeah, maybe 171.
Do you want to go from? I wondered also the first per anime crescendo bit. If you immediately took off, it was immediately faster. But it should be just continuing in the same tempo and then from that point getting faster.
Yeah, we do two before that. Or 169? Yeah, 169. 169.
Great. I thought that was much more effective. And you can even go further with that. Just the very end, for me, doesn't have enough impact. You rush through the last kind of 4 bars. Dum, dum, dum. Like, it's just such a massive first movement. I think it needs to have a bit more space around that final statement and then not to come off that last note early. I know the pause is on the rest, but it means that as part of it. Yeah? Otherwise, why would he bother writing that chord? Did he? You were a little bit behind. I can't remember your name. Julius. I knew it was a J.
Yeah.
Thinking like J. Great. Just a little bit behind, and I think it's so easy as like first violin. I'm guilty of it often that you try to dictate, and but actually you need to just be riding on what's already happening. Yeah. The triplets also, when they start, and Matthias, when you start the triplets, you can be a bit vaguer with them. I can hear that you're trying to do them maybe precisely, but I think try and hold them a little bit looser, because it's making the rhythm a little bit jerky.
Do you mean the crochet triplets or the
No,
quaver?
yeah, I mean the crochet triplets.
Oh, the crochet triplets, yeah. Okay.
Simplicity.
Can I just hear just those crochet triplets passing around?
Is it
Just from the but yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've done that before in rehearsal, but it's not, you're not really giving them to each other. So each of you is having to actually restart each time, which is, I think, what's causing the problems for me here, and probably making it feel a bit insecure. I can hear a bit of insecure, like anxiety each time you guys have. Can you try really like physically giving the triplets to each other each time? Just one more time like that. It's better. How did it feel?
Yeah, it felt better.
It's much better. Okay, let's do that with everything in as well. Sit on him. Sit on him. Yeah, sorry. Just sit on what's going on here. Yeah, guys, that's really getting a lot better, lot better. Yeah, I think the physicality is really important. You might not end up, playing like that, but as a rehearsal technique, as a way of kind of finding group unity and really sharing with each other. It's great to really push yourself to do that and find that freedom also on the instruments and kind of thing. Do you have any special questions, specific questions or anything?
A lot to think about, so pretty good now.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been so helpful. Thank you.
No,
so much.
it's been wonderful hearing
Thank
you.
you.
It's really wonderful quartet, so I hope I get to hear you again one day. So,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you very, very much. Bravo.
Thank you.